you prepare as thoroughly as you can. The guys play their asses off.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game. Another game.
Listen, we're talking about practice. Not a game, not a game, not a game. We're talking about practice.
That you probably won't say it again.
I bet I do.
Okay.
Chris?
If you want to crown them, then crown their ass. If they are who we thought they were, when we let them off the hook.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Gather around, Skull brothers and sisters. This is Skull Rants, brought to you by Minnesota Sports Talk. I'm your host, Dave. You can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Skull World. Let's go. Another guy you can follow on Twitter is at Skull_Doc. How you doing, man? Bringing the heat as usual, I'm sure. Let's go.
What's up, man? Always good to get together with you and talk Vikings. What's new, Dave?
Not much, man. Dalton Reisner. Dalton Reisner signs with us like the day after his offensive coordinator talks about Brandel being basically uncontested at left guard and how he deserves to start. What's with that? What's the turnaround on that?
Yeah, that was surprising. I mean, first of all, that was just the weirdest situation. The NFL must know something about Reisner that we don't, because he played too well to just be sitting on his couch that long through free agency. And for the Vikings to be that effusive about Brandel playing left guard without really any competition there, I was a little surprised, to be honest. I still don't think that the money he got was necessarily starter money. So if he does go back to a backup role, that's fine with me in regards to his contract. But I do think that based on what Wes Phillips had to say about him, the praise that he's gotten, I think that Brandel's still the guy that we're going to see in the starter role. And I think there's going to be a true competition there with Reisner. And I really like the move because, quite frankly, they needed more competition in that interior offensive line that did not get better since last year. Quite frankly, it stayed the same unless Brandel comes out and plays well, which, he could. He's got a limited sample size. Maybe they liked what they saw out of practice, but hey, if that's the case, why didn't we see him play last year? So
one of the things like OTAs and rookie camp, they got to see what they brought in, and maybe they didn't like it so much. And what this does is, if let's say Reisner starts, well, Brandel's played both left and right guard in the preseason, and he's played left tackle before too. I'm not even sure, maybe even right tackle, but he's played like 3 positions at least on this line. Maybe not in a game, but in a regular season game. But he shows promise. I think he's similar in pass blocking style as Brandel is, with the independent hands that I like to see. That Ed Ingram is not good at. I was beating the drum that Brandel should have started over Ed Ingram going into the season last year. I don't think, honestly, people were like, Ingram, stop talking about Ingram being, a problem, but I think he's been the same player. I don't think he improved by any means. I just think people didn't notice it as much because we were fumbling the ball all the time. But I think it's more of I think it's good in the sense that, hey, we got at least for sure an above average guard, former first round pick, if I'm not mistaken. And we still have first or second rounders at every position in the offensive line.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is crazy. You'd think that'd be a Hall of Fame line.
Yeah, I do want to see how Ed Ingram plays this year. Typically, it takes 3 years for offensive linemen, which is the dumbest thing when you see teams draft and play guys hoping that they can play an average level. You just don't see that with offensive linemen.
Even the best guy, though, the left tackle for San Francisco, with Trent Williams, he gave up like 11 sacks his rookie year. It was horrible.
And who's the recent Giants player? Was it Andrew Thomas, who was just terrible, unplayable as a rookie, and now he's one of the best left tackles?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But I mean, Ed Ingram, I will say that
if he doesn't have horns on his helmet, I probably don't pay attention to him.
I do think that Ed Ingram got better because he had no choice to get better. He was like the 67th of the 69 guards or something his rookie season. He was just terrible. And last year he did improve to below average, which, I mean, hey, we'll take anything. But this year we might see him jump to at least average, if not above average. That's just kind of how linemen tend to work. He's got consistency on his left and his right with Bradbury and O'Neal. So, I mean, this is the year, shit or get off the pot, right? So
yeah, it's make or break for him, I think. But he's had the luxury of starting 2 years in a row, not starting every game that he played in.
You know what the beautiful thing about this season is that this is not the year, right? We haven't entered our Super Bowl window yet. This year is about, let's see what we have. And Ed Ingram is a perfect example of that, where you get to evaluate, is he the guy going forward, or is this another hole that you have to fill in a year that you have a lot of cap space heading into next offseason?
Speaking of Super Bowl windows, I've talked about this as like if my thought of signing Justin Jefferson, extending Justin Jefferson, was that on the plus side of it, we got a Super Bowl window starting next year with the cap space, and then we can go for it with plenty of cap space and a rookie quarterback now in his second year, and hopefully over the next 2, 3, 4 years we got that window right before we have to pay the quarterback. Now, that being said, if for some reason JJ McCarthy doesn't work out, God forbid, knock on fake press particle wood on my desk here, that we have a trade piece that's people are going to want no matter how old he is. But he's still being his prime, and so we could reset our team with that, and we'd still have plenty of talent on the team. So that's my thought process about it. Recently we did talk about how there's two receivers out there looking for get big contracts still, and then another personal side of things is that he's got kind of a paternity suit out there. And are you going to sign big money as you're going through a paternity suit? So there's that personal side that nobody's talking about, but we are on my channel. That might be holding things up. I didn't think he was going to sign after Kirk left. I didn't think he would sign until beginning of camp. Not even, and I think he'll show up for mandatory mini camp. But he'd be one of those like hold-ins, you know what I'm saying? And that way he doesn't get fined. There's no animosity. He's not losing any money, no hard feelings, but he's there. So tell me what you feel about Justin Jefferson and what the Vikings are going to end up doing.
Yeah, he's going to sign an extension, probably into training camp. I don't foresee it being a long holdout into training camp. But if you look at the representation that Justin Jefferson has, it was the same representation that Nick Bosa had with the 49ers. And they took that up almost into week 1. And there's another example. So that his representation really likes to push these deals out and get every last dime that they can. Kwesi has said that deadlines make deals. Now, I think the Vikings are going to want to get this done as soon as possible so that they can get the reps with JJ McCarthy, with Sam Darnold and Justin Jefferson. To your point about rookie minicamp, I agree he might be a hold-in. He may not come because a $100,000 fine to Justin Jefferson is not going to be much to him. So I won't be surprised either way. But I think that the writing on the wall is that he will absolutely get a new deal here before week 1. And we will get to celebrate, and he's going to have his time to, be the headline for a week, like Kwesi mentioned. The wild thing to me is that you got guys like CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, who are now holding out, waiting for Justin to get signed. Justin may be the highest paid non-quarterback football player for a week or two before these two wide receivers surpass him. And by all means, that's fine with me because I know that JJ is the best wide receiver in football. So let's get this deal done before they get their deals done. That's my stance on it.
So with Bosa making $33 million, I believe, let's say JJ makes 35 average annual value. That's what Kirk made his last. That's what his average annual value was on the last year of his contract. So, guy, we went from we're paying 30. We can't afford a $35 million quarterback to let's let's afford a $35 million receiver. But the luxury we have there is that we have the rookie QB to absorb it. But I think there's a little talk about we're in talks with Darrisaw too. That's another guy that we thought on the Skull Experience that we recorded. You're watching this probably on Thursday. Last night on live show, we talked about that Darrisaw probably bet on himself because he hasn't been to a Pro Bowl yet. And if he plays this year, makes a Pro Bowl, or heaven for God willing, gets All Pro, he could write his ticket at left tackle and be the highest paid left tackle ever too. So that's two guys. We got the highest paid tight end. We got three guys. We got highest paid tight end. We got paid wide receiver. We got highest paid left tackle. All because we can afford it because we got a rookie QB and a lot of young players.
Right, and that's the goal, is to get good players and retain them, and because it takes good players to win a Super Bowl. So I think sometimes people get too into their own heads with salary cap and paying players, but you know what it takes to win a Super Bowl? It takes superstar talent to win a Super Bowl, especially when Patrick Mahomes is winning every year, right? You need superstars to beat that guy. So, yeah, I think it's a good problem to have a star talent like Darrisaw. And I think the reports that we're seeing that they're starting negotiations this year, to be honest with you, it's for good faith on the Vikings part. I don't think they're seriously entertaining signing that deal early. When you sign these deals early, it does give up a little bit of negotiating power that you have as a team, years of control that you have as a team to keep him at a nice salary, so that you can afford other parts of the roster.
Justin Jefferson, so
Exactly.
That's what I would expect.
And it, and how much effort was there to really sign Justin early? Reports say that they got actually pretty close.
Yeah, they said close. Yeah,
but then here we are over a year later, and it's still not done. So who knows?
And that was Kwesi who said it too. He said they got really close.
Right. So who knows on that situation?
Well, now he's more expensive there, Kwesi. Probably.
Right. And if they could go back, maybe who knows if Kwesi regrets that decision to not get it done a little bit earlier. But it was of my opinion last year that we should put it off as a franchise, get that extra year of control. Why do it early unless you really are getting a bargain? But I mean, Justin Jefferson deserves every penny of this money. I have no qualms with paying him all the money. I saw a report that maybe the Wilfs are a little cash strapped because of the soccer franchise that they acquired. Did you see that, Dave?
I think it was more like employees that they're paying, like employees of they're understaffed because of that. Is that what I was getting at? Because it don't matter about the football, the football team itself, but the staff in the organization, maybe they're understaffed at. I don't know.
I think the article was getting at just the money that the Wilfs spent to acquire the soccer franchise. I don't remember how much it was, like $250 million or something, that they just had so much liquid money spent on that franchise that they literally don't have money in the bank to afford to pay Justin Jefferson a huge signing bonus of whatever it may be.
That makes sense.
Huge amounts of money. And that was all speculation. I think that the Wilfs are fine personally. I don't think that we'd have a Cincinnati or an Oakland problem on our hands.
All they have to do is take a loan out. It'll be low interest. It's not a problem for rich people.
And I've actually heard, I think it was Collar was talking to somebody about this, where when you have a signing bonus that's really big money, they have to put this in like escrow to where they actually have to physically pay all this money, put it into an account right now. So it's not fake money, that they're signing.
Oh, right.
So
So
there are some owners who literally cannot afford these types of deals. That is why Khalil Mack was traded from Oakland to Chicago back in the day, because they literally didn't have the money to pay him at that time, which is really unfortunate. If you're in the NFL nowadays and you're an owner, I mean, what are you doing? You can't really compete with these other franchises if you don't have the money to spend on players.
Yeah, I didn't think of that aspect of it, about the having to have the upfront signing bonus. We just need an Owatani deal, in football. Hey, McCarthy, you're going to work for $1 million a year, and then after you retire, we're going to pay you that money while you're gone. But yeah, that's not in the NFL, unfortunately.
Dave, let me ask you this. Based on how stoic JJ McCarthy has been since he's come in, do you think he's got the type of personality that one day he might be the type of quarterback that just wants to win above all costs and does take a hometown discount? Because that's how he kind of comes across to me, is that this kid just wants to win.
32 quarterbacks in the league right now. None of them are taking discounts. I don't know why he'd be any different. The two guys we talk about that took discounts are Drew Brees and Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Tom Brady, he had other money, and a wife richer than him.
It's a great point.
And he did want to. He cared about the next ring. Drew Brees was just a stand-up dude. I think that was a special person,
and I think he loved that city.
Yeah,
because of everything they've been through in that city.
Yeah, he. It's like he cared more about his legacy, and he understood he had the money. JJ McCarthy, stoic. The definition of stoic kind of reminds me of like an actor that's like, that's
probably poor word choice by my part.
Right, so like the people talk about his aura or his personality, yeah, he's got a
maturity,
right words, but they're still just words.
Mm-hmm.
I know people give a lot of credibility because they want it to be true. They want to. I mean, I don't know a quarterback that hasn't said that a winning's more important to me than anything.
But you can feel it sometimes. You know what I mean?
Believe that or not, Cousins said that after games. But and I think we're at a lot. Someone asked Justin Jefferson, and he got no crap for this. They asked Jefferson after the last game, how important was him to get 1,000 yards. He says it's really important to me to get that 1,000 yards. And I mean, I'm sure he talked about wanting to win, but that was his response, was like, hey, it was important to me. I want this to continue. No one gave him any crap for that. I'm like, I noticed it because I just know how other people were talking about Kirk Cousins at the time. But I mean, if Kirk Cousins said that, it was important to me to get that 300 yards. No, I don't, if he said that, people would crap on him like crazy. But, we did get the 1,000 yards. But JJ McCarthy saying all the right things, and they gave Kirk a lot of crap of, again, saying the right things, being politically correct, and not being now JJ McCarthy has that different personality where he's a little more exuberant, but Kirk was 30, he's 21. Oh my God, I'm a millionaire now. He's probably pretty freaking excited, but but that was one of the things I liked about JJ McCarthy, is that he had that fiery personality. And I felt he had leadership quality. I feel like people probably were drawn to him. His coach raved about him
as a young man. He's 21.
All those things, man. Yeah, all those at 21. So for me, and we didn't talk about this, so good segue is I believe we wanted Drake May. I believe we were trying to trade to get Drake May. That I don't think has been disputed. But I am more happy that we didn't give up the farm for Drake May and we got JJ McCarthy the way we did.
100%.
And the reason being is even though maybe Drake May physically bigger, probably has that more quarterback prototypical body. McCarthy is not far off. He's just not as tall. He's not as big. But he can move, and he got an arm in it, and he has the leadership qualities. Now, I don't think Drake May is too far off with leadership qualities, because I've saw interviews with him, and he's good, and he's cocky, and he's all of that. Good family, all this, and Kraft raves about him. But I was happy because he's 21, and that I think we're going to get him cheaper, and he has just the same. He has just the same potential. He has that potential and the coaching he got in college. So I was super happy. Where were you at?
Right there with you. We were on the clock at number 3, and I was excited. I was like, "Hey, if we go up and get Drake May here, I'm gonna love it, right? I'm gonna be I'm gonna have a really good time tonight." and it didn't happen. And immediately I felt a little bit bummed because that's where
Oh,
my
shit.
heart was kind of set right there. And the outcome that I didn't want to see was that the Vikings send all these picks up to like 5 to go get JJ McCarthy.
Right.
And
I
trade
didn't
the
want
farm.
that at all.
And,
I don't
and
think
then I'd be real worried.
I didn't have him as a top 5 talent in this draft. I had him just like Spielman. I had him like 15th to 18th, 28th first, maybe. I did not have him as a top 5 guy.
And by the way, so I was not on Twitter. I did not want the tipped picks. I just wanted to experience everything live. So the Giants pick comes in and I'm standing up and I'm like, oh my God, is this JJ McCarthy? And it's Malik Neighbors. And I'm just really excited. I'm like, okay, so now we just sit back and we let the draft come to us. We get to keep these two
What
picks. It's
happened at
exciting.
8?
Exactly. So then they start talking about Michael Penix on the TV with the Falcons, and I'm like, what are they talking about? This
3
is
days
Dallas
earlier than
Turner.
that, it was reported by, I think, one of the insiders put out there that, hey,
They
are
love Michael
interested
Penix.
in Penix.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was like, whatever, right? Smokescreen season. That they just paid Kirk Cousins all the money. That's nothing. And then it's like when they say, the pick is in and you hear the M sound coming out of the commissioner's mouth, and I'm just like, what? Michael Penix. And I couldn't process it at first.
I thought people were punking us.
Yes, I was like, what?
We were live.
And I was the biggest, we might have talked about this in the past, but I was a huge Michael Penix fan last year. I was a bandwagon Washington fan. I watched all the games. I thought that he just had a piss missile
My
of
high
an
school
arm.
quarterback was their D coordinator.
Oh, yeah. So I was huge on Penix, and I thought that he was the guy. I was happy to get him, the Vikings to get him. He was kind of my target. And then I started listening to all these draft analysts, mainly Forno and Thor. Thor's the big McCarthy guy. I was so down. Yeah, I was so down on McCarthy to enter or at the end of the college season. And then Thor, listening to him, I was like, oh, okay, a lot of this makes sense now, right? Because we're talking about what does KOC want to do? What does he want out of his quarterback? It's timing. It's throws over the middle, a lot of dagger concepts. That's not necessarily what Michael Penix strives with. So I was on board with McCarthy over Penix just by a hair. So when the Falcons took Penix, I was okay with it, but I started sweating.
But then you're like, oh my God, if we don't get McCarthy,
we're screwed.
We're not going to get Penix either.
And I'm not a Knicks guy. Never was a Knicks guy. We hate throwing out the name Christian Ponder. I see Christian Ponder all over the Knicks pick. I just did not want Knicks anywhere near this. And although I will put my trust in KOC as our quarterback guru, groom the guy, I was just scared by Knicks. Thank God he ended up with Sean Payton. I think that's just sweet redemption. He deserves all. I hope he fails spectacularly, of course. And I just hate that guy. But anyways,
honestly, I feel bad for Knicks going there.
So then the Bears are on the clock, and I'm like, this is where Chicago, trades down with whoever, the Broncos. Right? Exactly, right? You can't write a better script than that. And they take Rome Odunze, great pick by them. I think that's just fantastic to go 3 deep for Caleb Williams. Very smart by them. Keenan Allen probably won't be back next year, but hey, for his rookie season, this is the best way. Knowing that you have to start Caleb Williams, this is the best way to facilitate your rookie. So they pick Rome Odunze, and I take a big sigh of relief because at this point, I know that the Vikings are not going to be outbid by anyone behind them, that they will go up with the Jets if they need to go get their guy. That's exactly what happened. As soon as they got on the clock, not one voice in the back of my head said, oh, this could be Knicks. I just knew it was McCarthy, and that's the name that we heard. So I was ecstatic, and I was very much looking forward to the names at 23 as they were falling, and my gut was telling me that they were going to go cornerback, and I thought they were going to take Terrion Arnold from Bama. And then when we traded up, I was caught by surprise, and I still wondered if they were going to take corner there. But then they said Dallas Turner, and much like Move the Sticks, Daniel Jeremiah, where he said he forgot Turner was even on the board still. Same thing. I was like, he's still available.
I thought we did the mock draft the day before, remember? We did that earlier. We did a final mock draft, not with you, but we took all 32 teams and we traded up from 11 to 8 But we thought if we didn't get that trade done, that Atlanta would take Dallas Turner, and then we'd go up and get JJ McCarthy, and we trade a third and a fourth. Well, we ended up trading a fourth and a fifth to get to 10, and then at 23 we're going to take some D tackle, but instead we trade up with 17 and better a scenario no one even thought of. We get McCarthy, don't give up any other first, and we get Dallas Turner at 17. Man, how ecstatic were you?
It was an A+ night. I was in heaven, man. It couldn't have gone any better. And then you go online and you hear all the people try to nitpick everything, right?
D+, we overpaid.
Exactly. So you're looking at all this stuff and you're looking at the process. My boy Arif Hassan, God, I love Arif Hassan, but he was kind of, using his calculator and doing what he does and looking at the process, didn't love the process. And he's looking at, so here's the problem. Everyone was like, this is what you gave up in total for Dallas Turner. You gave up this and this and this and this. But you got to look at it like the Vikings looked at it. They traded initially with the Texans to get that flexibility, just in case they wanted to have that capability to go up and get a quarterback at number 3 with the Patriots, that they could do it. Guess what? Patriots are being unreasonable. They did not take a fair deal. They wanted something more outlandish than what the Vikings were willing to offer, which was the same offer we all thought, right? 3 first-round picks, 2 this year, 1 next year, right? And they said no. And the Vikings said fine. And they did not trade up. And then they ended up trading up because of an extenuating circumstance where an unprecedented amount of offensive players went off the board in a row, historical number, and the defenders, top 10, top 5 defensive talent, slid to 17, right?
Yeah, I never looked at it as we traded that amount of picks to the 17th. I felt like we traded that amount of picks to get a top 5 talent in this draft. Mm-hmm. That's the way I felt. Like, we didn't trade up to that. We traded up to the top of our board because that guy was still there.
And talking heads, I don't know if you want to call them talking heads, smart people like Arif Hassan, smart people like Eric Eager, who I talked to this on talking Twitter. Heads. And their thing was, no, you can't do what Dave just said. You can't look at it like that. You can't spin it like that because the NFL let these players fall to 17. But my rebuttal to that is, this is not a normal draft year. These players do not typically fall to 17.
There are 32 different boards.
Mm-hmm.
There's not one board. That's the thing. They're like, the experts say that this is the way the top 100 should be. And then so-and-so gets drafted up here, it becomes a Hall of Famer, and nobody thought about it, but that freaking team is right. Or the team that drafted this guy because he was supposed to be the best player ever, and he turned out to be trash. I mean, there's 32 boards. If that guy was our number 1 defender, and he was in all matter, it's like looking at his spider chart is looking like a bite out of a cookie.
He's like a 73rd percentile wide receiver, athletically, in the NFL.
Right, and like the whole spider chart, the only thing he dips on is bench, and that's because he's got 35.5-inch arms.
Yeah,
that's the only reason his bench isn't great.
He's jumping like 42 inches vertical. It's stupid. And my God, did you see what Christian Darrisaw said about him today?
Oh, say it again. Darrisaw?
Yeah. He said that he pulled off a spin move. It wasn't against Darrisaw, it was against a different offensive lineman during OTA. That was faster than Daniil Hunter's spin move. And to quote Christian Darrisaw, he said, "Holy F word, this kid's going to be special."
And that's the thing. If JJ McCarthy, knock on particle wood, doesn't work out, Dallas Turner was drafted there too. So it's like we got something special, I believe. And really, the kind of defense we're building, there isn't going to be as much pressure on JJ McCarthy because, I mean, the last 3 years of Kirk, our defense wasn't special. It was in 2 of those 3 years was god awful, and too much weight goes on to him. And then you throw in a rookie head coach, and we still win 13 games. JJ McCarthy is going to have a defense. He's going to have an offensive line that's finally playing better. He's got all the weapons. He's got TJ Hawkinson for a few years. He's got Addison for a few years, and Kirk's only had those guys for one in a few months. So like he's got these advantages, and he just has to like drive the ship a little bit. Not Casey Keenum. Casey Keenum came in and played within himself, and the only good year out of his career. That's the kind of thing I think Sam Darnold could have. Good segue. Sam Darnold he's going to be our starter, right? Wendy, right? And when or if do you think JJ McCarthy would take over?
Not until at least after the bye week. And if I was a betting man, right? Yeah. And here's the tough thing is you come out of the bye and I think you play at home against the Lions, and then you have a short trip to the Rams on Thursday Night Football. So that's a tough segue. But if I'm being honest, he may not even play this year if it goes to their plan. He may not play.
Says that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I hope people wouldn't be upset with that. I know that there's, you want to open your new present type of thing, but it's best. I mean, just look at how some of these quarterbacks do when you give them time to sit. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. You can't compare anybody. But damn, I mean, look at the Packers thing. They sat Rodgers. They sat Love. Both of these guys look good, unfortunately. They just can't miss. Screw that franchise. But I mean, I think it's good for the kids. Sit for a year. That's I'm fine with that. But
I want him to be seasoned though a little bit before next year. When
your window technically opens.
Yeah, when we got all the that was my and I say this to people. I am a guy that if Sam Darnold plays his ass off and looks awesome, I hope he never gets the job up and we win a Super Bowl with him.
And every time I see the media talk,
what's that?
Every time I see the media talk about these OTAs, they're like, "Oh, hey, Sam Darnold looks good,
shining in shorts."
Of course, he's always had arm talent, right? It's when the lights come on, he shits his pants. But this is the best car he's ever driven. I mean, he's got weapons. I'm super excited to see how he looks.
Well, and I think it was like Will Raggets said, look, Sam Darnold throws a dime to, I think it was Addison. I don't know. Throws a dime to Addison. I'm like, it was 7-on-7 drill. And I'm like,
they should look good.
Yeah. Look how he sidestepped that. And I retweeted and I go, look how he sidestepped that rush and read the, made the right read and delivered that dime. I'm like, there was no rush, man. That's the problem. There's nobody in his face. We got to see that. I want him to play a lot in preseason. Play him a lot. It should be open competition up until that week 3 of preseason, honestly. And then, okay, this is our starter. This is the guy who's going to sit. Let these other guys fight out for backup or just get more experience. To me right now, I'm thinking, God, it's Sam Darnold and Nick Mullins is going to be our backup. And we're going to carry a third emergency QB the whole season, and that's JJ McCarthy, unless somebody gets hurt. That's my thought process right now.
And that's fine. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I agree with you. I'd be happy either way. If he sits the whole year and he takes this as a learning year, fine with me. If he doesn't start the year, he comes in to spell Darnold sometime in the second half of the year, get some time under his belt. That's also fine with me. I trust Kevin O'Connell to get him in at the right time to not stunt his development. And I think the car that he has to drive here is too nice for him to crash and burn, to be honest with you.
That's one of my points is like, we don't want to ruin JJ McCarthy. And I'm like, okay, if he can be ruined, he was not the right guy to draft. I mean, everybody says this was the best team a QB in this draft could have went to. That includes him. So, I mean, they're talking about, when they talk about that, this is a great situation for him to start in, like to play in. So if he gets ruined by a team like this, we're not talking about the Texans and, back in the day where their number one overall QB got just killed.
Or the Bears for the past 15, 20 years.
Oh, yeah. That's not this team. So if we picked a guy that can be ruined by this team with this coach, then we got the wrong guy.
I do
He
think,
wasn't going to be
though-
any good anyways, and that's my thought process behind it. But I don't think he's that guy. I think he is a guy that can handle this. I don't think he can be ruined because of his work ethic and the kind of person he is. So I don't feel that. Whether or not he develops talent wise, physically, throwing the ball and reading, because it's going to be different. I don't think he's going to have the. It's just going to be different and faster, and you got to get used to that. So, yeah, I don't think ruining him as a thought process. I think if they said if he meets certain benchmarks, then he's the guy. But I don't believe that. I think they're like, if it's a tie or if it's close, or maybe he's got the slight edge, they're still going to err on the side of Sam Darnold.
I think so too. And he's, they're working on his footwork. They're back to basics right now, and they're
he's
not
got
going to
good
put him in.
footwork, right?
Yeah, but there's still little things that they're working
right.
on. Like I read something that they want him left foot forward or whatever when he takes the
receiving the snap.
And they that had some issues when he was opening up his hips and trying to throw left in college. So they're working on the things.
In the combine, he didn't throw left very well.
But we've seen a couple plays already in OTAs. It seems like every highlight the Vikings give us, he's throwing left and
it's true,
completing some balls. So hey, I mean,
true. But yeah, that was the big thing. And everybody was still fawning over him as Vikings fans. But I was like, dude couldn't throw left at the combine. He overthrew a dude, and that's throwing against air. It's like, but again, it's a receiver you haven't worked with before, so I don't hold a lot of credence to that. If he was bounce passing people, that would have been a problem. If he was McNabbing it to people, that would have been a problem. But I don't have too many worries about him. If we're in year 3 and he's playing like Sam Darnold did in year 3, then then I'll start getting worried. But I don't feel like that.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. Are you excited about this 6'4" corner they drafted? I like the prospects of a huge corner.
Very excited about him. He tweeted out he tweeted something out about the number he was wearing. And I'm like, got to get used to this. I'm like, and I reply CB1. I mean, that's where I think he is. I think he's Rhodes-esque. And Rhodes has a little more athletic ability than he does, as far as like numbers coming out of the combine and stuff. But I think he could be, and maybe he doesn't get as many hamstring injuries when he's gets burned on long bombs as Rhodes did.
Rhodes is 6'2", but he was long as hell.
Yeah, and Rhodes is 6'4" and long as hell, and he runs a 4.5, but he has elite 10-yard split, which is awesome, I think.
Yeah, I saw a couple OTA highlights or whatever. With this kid is sticking with Addison on the breaks. It's looking pretty good, and he's just long. He's just tough to get the ball around him.
Yeah, they talk about 4.5 not being great, and Jamie on GG Sports says if he ran a 4.49, nobody would be saying anything.
Yeah,
but it's a 4.5,
and he's a long strider.
Fine for a 6'4" guy as long as he is, because the height, that leaping ability, all that plays a big part in the fact that he's got, I think, a well above average short area quickness. I think it's just that they think the long speed is not as good. But I'm like, there's so many 4.5 corners in this league, 40 times. That's like the average. It's not bad. So that's the way I think. Any last words, man?
Nothing much, man. Just excited to get on and talk some ball with you. It's been a while.
Make sure you follow this guy at Skoldoc, and we may have some news for you in the future about maybe Skoldoc being a little more prevalent on this channel. So stay tuned. We'll hold the excitement for later. Skol Vikes.